Hello and welcome to another edition of Chill with Kaiju Kim. I'm Kaiju Kim. Thank you for joining me on this lovely afternoon, evening, whatever time it is for you. Hope you're doing well. Please do stick around until the end of the stream because there will be a giveaway. That's right. And I also have an announcement for those of you who don't follow me on Twitter. Got a little bit of announcement, so make sure you stick around to the end. All right, so we have a pretty fun guest tonight. Not only is he the author of some of the literature we will be discussing, but he is also the host and curator of the Monster Island Film Vault podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Nathan Marchand.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
I can't hear you.
Why not? Oh no. Are we having audio issues? This is bad. Uh-oh.
Hello?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Oh no. This is awkward. My guest can't hear me. Oh no. I don't know what happened. You were hearing me before. It's a good thing there's only one person.
There we go. My volume was set to 0. That might have helped.
Oh, I was like, what happened? You were hearing me before. What happened?
Yeah, I know. You know what? Yeah, the heck with these headphones. I'll just use the computer mic. We're going to do this old school. So.
Okay. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for the technical issues we seem to be having this evening. Okay, all right. You look fantastic. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can totally hear you. I swear.
Okay, just your audio's going in and out though. Because I can hear you. I can barely hear you.
You can barely hear me?
Like, yeah, your audio goes like in and out. Like every once in a while, it'll be like super low, and then a few seconds later, it'll be like really loud. Ladies and gentlemen, please bear with us as we work out our technical issues. My apologies.
Can you still hear me?
Like, I can hear you, but it's like low.
Huh. I've got my...
This is awkward.
Yes, I'm sorry. How about now? How's this?
That's better.
Okay.
All right, let's try this again. Hi, Nathan.
How are you, Kim?
I'm great. How are you? That's great. So,
gotta love technical issues. Yes.
yeah.
I had like jokes and everything prepared. I was gonna say, I was like, is this the part where you have Schwarzenegger do the voiceover? It's like, all right, everyone, chill with Kaiju Kim.
All right. So, for the lovely people in the audience who do not know who you are, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I am Nathan Marchand, as hopefully a lot of you know me for the Monster Island Film Vault podcast. But I'm also an author. I'm a published author, which is what got me on the show here tonight, because we're going to be talking about my kaiju books and kaiju stories. Now, I've got other things. I've got some other books that I'll probably show up after we talk about this stuff here for a while. But the other thing that's really exciting is I have, as of Friday, I have graduated with a master's degree.
Yay! Congratulations.
Yes, that was 3 years of very hard work. So that's really exciting. So on to the next great adventure.
Awesome. All right. So couple of quick questions here. So when did you start writing? What inspired you to start writing? All that good stuff.
It's kind of funny. I like to joke sometimes that my first foray into fiction writing was a horrible failure. That being when I was 3 years old, about 3 or 4 years old, and discovered what lying was.
Oh no.
Yeah, I took hedge clippers and cut my parents' hose in half. And
Oh no.
my cover story was that the boogeyman did it. I'm not joking.
That's adorable.
Yeah, and it did not work, obviously. And then when I was about I always loved stories. I soaked up stories like a sponge, and especially fiction. I grew up watching cartoons and reading. English was my go-to subject in school. I loved reading, and I would tell stories to myself or tell stories to people. When it comes to actually writing, that came about when I was about sixth grade, and my English course was going over what a fanciful story was for a couple of days. And then after that, after going over it and doing some things, some little assignments in the book that said like, okay, what are the different parts of a fanciful story and stuff like that. Then it said, okay, here's your assignment, actually write one. So I wrote one, and it was, I guess you could say Toy Story meets Small Soldiers. It was basically about my toys, like these little guys right here. He's very fun to pet. Yes. Seriously, the spines on this Playmates Mechagodzilla are made out of very nice soft rubber. He's fun to pet.
Ooh, fun.
Yes.
I should get one.
Good luck. Although I do have an extra that I plan to give out as a podcast giveaway. So.
Oh, okay, so I'll be on the lookout for that. I gotta listen to your podcast. I mean, I listen to your podcast every week, but
oh yes. But anyway, so basically, I wrote about my toys coming to life and battling each other, and I had so much fun with it that I think I wrote like, I don't know, a couple dozen sequels, and they're all written out by hand. Some of them was on a typewriter, like an electronic typewriter that my parents had, and then on a computer eventually when they got a computer, and none of them will ever see the light of day, assuming they still exist, because they are all terrible. They're basically just glorified fan fictions is what they really ended up being. And then I started branching out and doing other things for a while, and I have no shame in saying this. For a while, I wrote fan fiction, in particular, no joke, Godzilla fan fiction. And it's really hilarious to look back on that now, because you can kind of track my level of Godzilla knowledge based on what I was writing in the fan fictions, because there was a time period where I didn't know that there were other movies that were made in the 90s. So I was writing fan fiction and not knowing that those other movies existed. It's kind of funny. And a lot of them were very Showa to begin with. So... and then I got an idea for a novel, and let me find my little author copy here for you, right here. Science fiction novel. It's called Pandora's Box. You can get this on Amazon, actually. It's been out for, good Lord, I think this fall will be its 11th anniversary. It's insane.
Wow.
And I had been sitting on that story for a really long time. I started working on it right before I went to college. And then I got busy with college, and then I picked it up again while I was in college because of a class that I was taking. And then when I got out of college, I finished it, shopped it around to a couple different publishers, got it published, and yeah. And while I was in college, I studied professional writing when I was an undergrad, I should say. And I've basically been an actual published writer since my freshman year of high school. Excuse me. College.
Yeah, I was about to say like high school. Oh wow, that's amazing.
No. Although I've actually heard about a few guys who, when they were either right out of high school or whatever, publishing their first book, are like, that's not fair.
Awesome. So, what's your writing process like? Like, what goes through your head when you're writing?
Oh, geez, everything.
We got all night.
Yeah. So it's like, how long do you want to be here? But I, the process it's interesting because my ideas come from a lot of different places. I tend to write down, like if I come up with some crazy idea for a concept, a character, even just a cool line or a cool sounding title, I will put it down someplace so that I can remember to use it later. But basically, in terms of what I do when I actually write, if it's a longer piece, it's a little bit different. If it's something short, like a short story, I tend to just sit down and just crank it out because it's since it's short, it should be relatively easy to come up with and to write about. So that's a little bit by the seat of my pants, although I usually go in with some sort of an idea. But usually when you talk to writers, they do it one of two ways. They're either obsessive outliners, so they have to outline everything before they even start. So it's like, bam, bam, bam. I have 20 chapters and this is what happens in each chapter. Now I'm actually going to write it. And then other people, in the writing world, we call them pantsers because they fly by the seat of their pants. So a famous example of that, actually, there actually are people you would think this would be a bad idea, but but probably the best example of someone who's been incredibly successful with that approach is Stephen King.
Oh, okay.
He just sits down and he starts writing. He has no idea what's going to happen when he gets started, how long it's going to be, or anything, which explains a few things. But excuse me.
Don't die.
I promise I don't have the COVID. But I tend to fall somewhere in the middle, which I swear up and down I read in a book by Orson Scott Card, who's most famous for writing Ender's Game. He said that's how he approaches it. He likes having at least a skeletal outline, so he has an idea of what he's doing, at least a little bit. But he likes leaving himself enough room so if he comes up with something better on the fly, he can just use it. So he's not such a slave to the outline, and that's basically how I operate. I like having broad strokes ironed out, but the nitty-gritty details I save for when I'm actually in the middle of those creative fires, and letting just stuff come out. It's a little bit like improvisation, like improv comedy. You can go in with an idea. Okay, this is the game we're playing. This is the situation. This is your character, but you have no idea what's going to come out of your mouth until you actually say it.
Awesome. So we're going to get a little bit into a bit into your writings and your experience as an author. So, but before we get into that, can you tell us what are some of your favorite pieces of kaiju literature? Since that's what we're talking about tonight, what are some of your favorite pieces?
Mine are other people's.
Other people's.
Other people's. Okay, I would probably have to say, and I don't know if you might be just the right age to remember these, but do you remember the Mark Saraceni Godzilla novels?
I do not.
Oh, I'm so sorry. If I had known we were talking about them, I would. They're actually. I could grab them off my shelf if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know what? I'll do that. Vamp while I do this.
Okay. All right. So, since some of my favorite pieces of kaiju literature, I just got this at a toy show. This was an amazing find that I got at a toy con a few weeks ago. Godzilla Likes to Roar. Yay!
Oh, that children's book. You got lucky.
And I also got Godzilla on Monster Island. I originally want to read these to my nephew, but I'm afraid he's going to rip the pages. That's why they're still in the plastic.
I caught a little bit of that. So you have those Godzilla Likes to Roar, the little kids' books. Those were actually published around the same time, actually, as the ones that I'm showing.
Yeah?
Yeah. So there were 4 of them.
Okay.
Mark Saraceni was the author, and I read these back when I was in high school. Yeah, here, I'll hold them up again. So.
Yeah.
There you go. I'll show them individually. So you have Godzilla Returns, not to be confused with The Return of Godzilla. And then, here's one. This will be really confusing for you, Kim, but Godzilla 2000, which was...
Wait, what? Mind blown.
Yes, I know. And then I always get these two mixed up. I think these are books 3 and 4. I just don't remember the exact order. I think this is book 3. So Godzilla at World's End and Godzilla versus the Robot Monsters. Heavily influenced by the Heisei films, obviously. They're very much like Tom Clancy style techno thrillers, but with kaiju in them.
Nice.
And they were very influential on me as a teenager reading those. They're young adult novels, and they were actually a little bit eye-opening. Like one of the characters is an American kid who, in the first book, actually goes to Tokyo and he freaks out. He's like, "Oh my gosh, Tokyo is so much different than anywhere in the United States. It's crazy." And the Godzilla, the actually, to be honest, I think probably my favorite out of the lot is probably Godzilla 2000. It's been a long time since I read them, but this one is insane because the climax of this book, I'm not kidding you, the basic story is that Godzilla comes to shore in California and does a cross-country march all the way to New York City and fights King Ghidorah on New Year's Eve.
That sounds awesome.
It's insane. It is absolutely insane. And there's actually, I'm not kidding you, this was, probably should have mentioned this at the beginning. I'm a born and raised Hoosier boy. I'm from Indiana. And there is actually a chapter in this. So when I was a youngin' reading this, I was just like, oh my gosh! There's a chapter where Godzilla goes through Gary, Indiana, fights the military and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, Godzilla's trashing Gary. He could go ahead and do that. We don't like Gary.
All right.
Gary is not a nice place.
I'll take your word for it. All right. So let's talk about some of your work now. I see you got 2 of your books sitting right there in front of your friends there.
Yes, my friends. Yeah. Destroyer, and which is a kaiju novella that I co-wrote with a couple of friends. And then this is a short story anthology, but the last story in here, The Worlds of Nathan Marchand, is kaiju. And I also, and this is actually the newest kaiju thing I've had published. This is an anthology from Wild Hunt Press. It's called Attack of the Kaiju, Volume 2, The Next Wave. I have a story in here. And Wild Hunt Press is working on doing another kaiju themed anthology. They just need to get more entries. So if any of you, Kim, I don't care who any of you are, if any of you are writers and you want to submit a short story so that they can actually have enough material to publish a book, please, because I'm really proud of the story that I sent them and I want it to be shared with the world.
Awesome. All right, so let's go through your books one by one. Let's start with Destroyer. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Destroyer is interesting. I'll tell you you want to know the story of the book first, or you want to know about how it came about?
Both.
Both. Okay, well, basically, here's the elevator pitch for Destroyer. This is set in a futuristic war where a team of scientists and soldiers have created a giant cybernetic dragon as a weapon to end said war, but this cyborg goes berserk and strands them in the middle of the enemy capital. So now they are trying to survive not only the monster, but each other. Because it's a very volatile group of characters. It's very character driven, and they have to deal with each other about as much, if not more, than the monster. It's a little insane. And it's all packed together in only maybe, I think it's about 150 pages, 150 pages. It's relatively short. It's only about 30,000 words, which is novella length. And this edition, this is a special edition of it that includes a bonus short story by my friend Nick Hayden. And that is a sequel of sorts to it. It's not about the monster, but it's about an element of the world in this novel that he plays around with, and it's absolutely genius. It's like a really weird modern take on a Twilight Zone story. it's wonderful. And I've told him, because I've had people asking for a sequel to this. And I'm like, I don't want to write a sequel. And then people started giving me ideas like, I hate you. No, I want to write a sequel. And I am actually going to use elements from Nick's short story in the sequel if I ever get around to it. But I don't know if you or any of your viewers caught on to this, but this actually was inspired by a Godzilla film. Take a wild guess which one it was.
I don't know, Nathan. Why don't you tell us?
Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, so the first Kiryu film.
Nice.
And specifically because, and please don't hate me, because I know there are Kiryu fans out there. I still think Kiryu is a great idea for a kaiju, but I never felt like Kiryu quite lived up to his full potential. The whole idea of, halfway through the movie where Kiryu goes berserk, and for a good 5 minutes, but then it gets fixed and it never happens again. I'm just like, there was so much you could have done with that, and you left it there on the table, and so I was upset. So that's basically what where I got the idea for this, because the dragon, it actually has a couple of names. Let me bring it up so you can count. That's the titular monster right there.
Nice.
And it's called Destroyer because one of the names that ends up being given to the dragon is Apollyon, which is the name of a demon in the book of Revelation, and the name means destroyer. So I was playing around with some of that. So I wanted to write a story where I took this idea. Hey, Michael.
Hey, it's Michael. How dare you be late? You're canceled. Continue.
Kaiju Kim cancellations. There's the title of your podcast. Kaiju Kim cancellations.
There we go. Who will be canceled this week?
But anyway, so I wanted to really take that idea and run with it. I really did, because it sounded like such a great idea. So that's where this came up. But I also wanted to do something that was a little bit different, obviously, to differentiate it. If I'm already going to grab onto a concept that's fairly similar to a Godzilla film, I got to make everything else around it as different as I can. So that's why I set it in the future, and I had it be set during a war. And you can still hear me, right? Okay. It just went mute. I was a little scared there.
Yeah, I muted my mic because there's cars and motorcycles passing by my house. So.
Yes. The dreaded highway.
Yay! I'm moving it in 2 weeks, so hopefully that will no longer be an issue.
Yeah. But anyway, so it's set during a war, and then now the characters, I will admit, I kind of grabbed out a lot of archetypes that you would see in stories like this. There's the scientist who created it, then his the mandatory beautiful assistant, which is his daughter, who's also a scientist.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then you have the gung-ho general who is in charge of the whole operation, and he can only think about using the thing as a weapon. Even when it goes nuts, he's like, I'm still going to use it as a weapon. And then his advisor is actually a military chaplain who starts slowly going insane after they get marooned in Moscow. That's the other thing that's different. Is the story takes place in Moscow, because I'm like, what's a city that hasn't really had a kaiju attack yet? Oh, how about Moscow? Other than 10 seconds and destroy all monsters, and another 10 seconds in Godzilla the animated series. So, and then they meet a character after they end up in Moscow, who's a Russian soldier, and he doesn't speak a word of English, so they don't know if they can trust him or not. But he knows the area, and he knows how to survive and all of that sort of stuff. So it's, like I said, it's a volatile mix of characters. And it came about, I'm not the only author on this. This was co-authored with my friends Tasha Hayden, who's Nick Hayden's wife, and Timothy Deal. And we did it as part of this big project that we wanted to do. We all got together at a cabin in the middle of nowhere down in Brown County, Indiana. which is absolutely beautiful. If you ever come visit Indiana, go to Brown County.
Mm-hmm.
And we rented a cabin for the weekend, and we just all hung out as a bunch of writers, had a good time, and then we said, let's come up with a project that we can all do together for a while. So we said, well, how about we do something where we write like old pulp fiction sort of things, like stuff you see in old pulp magazines or in dime store novels, like these little dime store novels are only like this thick. You can buy them, really cheap, and they're usually, like these silly little stories, And so we came up with a bunch of different subgenres under that, one of which was monster. And I chose monster, to which my friend Aaron Brosman said, that means you can write everything from Frankenstein to Godzilla. So I basically did both.
Nice.
With this. And so then I wrote about 10,000 words or so. Our goal was to have a 30,000 word books at the end of this. And so I wrote about 10,000 words over there about 4 months. Then we drew names out of a hat to see what we would get next. So it wasn't just, we pick what we want. It's like, nope, you get something that you get this, and it might be something you've never written before. So have fun. And so then Natasha got it. She almost didn't want to do it because she's like, I've never written anything like this. I don't know what to do. And I just said, just focus on the characters. You'll be fine. And actually, her section probably has the least amount of the monster, but good Lord, she does such amazing things with the characters. And it's actually like it's actually more like a horror book when you get to that middle section. And I was shocked that came out of her. Also, she predicted the future.
Really?
There's a throwaway line in her section where, because like I said, this is in the future, where one of the characters makes mention of there being 9 Star Wars movies.
Oh, look what happened.
Yeah, look at that. But, she underestimated. But and then the next one was Timothy Deal, another friend of mine who's actually been on my podcast a couple of times. And he wrote the finale. And weirdly enough, he actually told me he drew a little bit of inspiration for kind of like King Kong stuff because the monster climbs a building at the end. Weird. It can fly, but so it was a blast. It was an absolute blast. And so the origin of the monster is actually, it's a little bit of Jurassic Park because they used dinosaur DNA to make it, and they got it because they found a impeccably preserved T-Rex corpse that was found in a cave. But the reason that it was impeccably preserved because there was this alien mineral from a meteorite that they assumed that the radiation that it gave off kept it preserved the body. It died of starvation, but it kept it alive. So then they harvested the DNA from that and then used that to make its skin. They gave it a biological CPU like Kiryu. So it has a T-Rex brain, and then the T-Rex brain actually takes control, and then it freaks out.
Nice.
Like, I have a weird new body, and I don't know where I am, and
We should turn this into a movie.
I kind of want it to be a movie. Be a Sci-Fi Channel original or something.
Yeah, let's do it. I got some film equipment we can use. Let's do it.
We'll just get this guy right here. We'll put him in a costume. He's like,
yeah, there we go.
Yes, I would love to be in your movie.
He does look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. All right. That's awesome.
In my mind, Showa Mechagodzilla sounds like Schwarzenegger because Showa Mechagodzilla is basically a Terminator.
That is true. Yeah. All right. Anything else we need to know about Destroyer?
I think I've covered all the bases other than it's a lot of fun and it's available right now on Amazon. You should all go get it and read it and then leave me 5-star reviews because that would be amazing.
Yes. For those who don't know, this is what it looks like. It's wonderful. Who did the artwork for this? You remember?
Yes. Drat. Now his name is suddenly escaping me. I'm gonna have to cheat and look it up. It's also the guy who did the cover art for my podcast. So I should Tyler Souls. That's what his name is. Tyler.
There we go.
And who I actually found through G-Fan magazine. So that was really cool.
Ooh.
I never met him in person, and then I randomly bumped into him at Indiana Comic Con. He was vending there. I was just walking around looking at everything that was there, and then I just come around and says Tyler. So I was like, what? And then I actually had copies with me because I always take copies with me in case I can entice people into buying them. And then I just got out a copy of the book and I said, dude, like, are you Nathan? He's like, yes, I am. It was incredible.
All right, so let's move on to The World of Nathan Marchand, a short story collection.
Yes.
I'm interested about this one.
Yes. Well, and all the stories in this one right here, they're all fantasy and science fiction because that is my genre of choice. Yeah.
Clearly.
And so like they run the gamut. There's fantasy, there's comedy, there's steampunk. Yes, I have a steampunk story in this thing. And then cyberpunk, the first story in the collection is actually cyberpunk. And the last story in the collection, because it's the longest one, is a kaiju story. And it's called Defying Scylla, or Scylla, actually, I should say, because it's the Greek mythological monster. That one, interestingly, was actually kind of inspired by Godzilla 1985. I was always struck by the apocalyptic imagery that we get in those when Godzilla's going through the city, and then when they detonate the nuke and it's got the red sky at night and things like that. I was always really struck by it, and I was just like, how cool. And then my mind started going, and I started thinking, it was like, what if there was a story where it was set in the city it was post-apocalyptic, and the city had been decimated by a kaiju, and all of the human survivors live underground, and they treat the kaiju like it's this angry deity that they have to appease, and they kind of worship it in this really kind of weird, twisted sort of religion. So that was kind of the germ of that, and then it turned into the story where it's a brother, and he has two younger siblings who are twins, and they're saying, we're going to go to the surface, and we're going to get out of here. We're going to escape the city because we're tired of what these people are telling us because we don't think it's true. And so we're going to find a way to get out of it. And the way that they figure out that they're going to do is they're going to go to the tallest building that's still standing because they have built hang gliders, and they are going to hang glide out of the city. Unfortunately, they try to do that, and the monster tries to run interference on that.
Ooh, I'm sure that ends well.
You'll have to read to find out what happens. But basically, yeah, what happens is that the twins try to fly the hang glider first, and while their older brother is watching, and then the monster can't fly, but he's incredibly agile, and he can jump from building to building, and he has claws so he can dig in there and he can climb. And he catches up with them, and he knocks the brother and sister out of the sky, and the twins out of the sky. And the older brother thinks, "Oh my gosh, they're dead!" But then he gets a message from him on the radio. It's like, "No, we're not actually dead." So then the kind of the centerpiece of the story is he's hang gliding through the city, and he's trying to get to them while dodging the monster. Like the monster is always going after him. And then you get to the end, and he's reunited, and then crazy things start happening again after that.
Nice.
That's as much as I'll say, because it's already been a little too spoilerific.
Is this the same artist, or is this different?
No, I actually got that from, I think, Fotolia, and then I added the text onto it.
Oh, okay. Well, it looks very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it looks like. Yes. Available on Amazon now.
Yes.
All right, and last but certainly not least, we have one second. Attack of the Kaiju, Next Wave, Volume 2.
Yeah, which, if you look at my, I don't know if you can see it or not, but if you go down and find my name on there, they misspelled it, and Michael won't let me forget that.
Nathan Marchland.
Michael will not let me live that down. I was like, I'm sorry, I had nothing to do with the cover. My name is spelled correctly in the book.
That's weird.
Yeah, whatever. So he will occasionally call me Marchland, and then I threaten to kill him in his sleep. But
oh, you get along so well. You're such good friends.
What? Don't you threaten to murder your best friends?
All the time, yeah. All right, so let's tell. Yeah, go ahead and tell us about Attack of the Kaiju Volume 2.
This is, like I said, it's put up by Wild Hunt Press, and it's a collection of different short stories from various authors, all having to do with kaiju. Some of whom are actually friends of mine, like Skip Peel and Neil Reeb, Christopher Negro, who's actually the guy who's in charge of the publishing house that put this all together. I've actually done G-Fest panels with Skip and Neil, and they're really fun guys. And then there are also a few essays in the back. They're nonfiction.
Oh, okay.
One of whom is done by another dear friend of mine who's been on the podcast a couple of times, John LeMay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's great. And my story in this is called The Shisa and the Dragon. Now, this was actually inspired by an old legend, and that I read about from Japanese mythology that had to do with a statue that an emperor, not an emperor, a king had around his neck. And then the original story was that he held up, there was a dragon terrorizing his coastline. And then he went and confronted the dragon at the behest of this old prophetess. And he held up the statue, and it roared so loud that it shook the dragon, and it ended up dying right there on the seashore. Now I expanded on it, and turned it into the fantasy story where the Shisa statue actually actually grows and comes to life as this lion dog thing. So think King Caesar, and then it goes and it fights the dragon.
Cool. I like dragons. So I like this. I like this story. So because I like dragons.
And it fell right open right to my story. So yeah, the monster's names of this, the statue is called Shisa-sama. So Lord Shisa, and then the dragon I think is called Shidoragon, which I think just means like sea dragon or something like that in Japanese. I was playing around with Japanese words, because that's actually, a lot of people don't realize all of the names for these kaiju from Japan. We think they all sound so cool and exotic. If you actually know Japanese, they're actually kind of straightforward and almost funny in a way. Like Ebera,
shrimp.
Literally just a giant shrimp. Yeah. Yeah. Which is funny. Like just a little here's a little lesson in Japanese for you. You know how in Japanese Godzilla's name is Gojira?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The word, the suffix ra, ra, that is basically that's basically just denoting that it's something that's big and monstrous. So it's kind of like how, it's basically the equivalent of Americans saying Zilla. So that's why they say, like bride, something like that, which is why you'll see it in all of these other kaiju names. Mothra, Gamera,
Ghidorah.
Yeah. So which means literally Mothra's name is Mothzilla.
That's hilarious.
It's so hilarious. We think it all sounds so cool and exotic, and it's like, yeah, actually, to the Japanese, like that's really straightforward.
Yeah, that sounds about right for Japan. All right. So, speaking of this book, you told me that you randomly came across an extra copy. What are the
The
odds? How did that happen?
the publisher unfortunately kept neglecting to send me author copies. I said, I'm being interviewed by Kaiju Kim, and you don't want to make Kaiju Kim angry. So, so yeah, I want to have author copies to show off for this. And the guy said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I've been meaning to send these to you for months. Here, have two." I decided, you know what? I only need one. So let's make a lucky kaiju. Oh, sorry, big boy. Let's make one of Kaiju Kim's viewers really lucky and get him a copy of this. And you got hours of entertainment in this from a lot of just wonderful authors. Let me tell you.
All right, so the way we are going to determine which lucky kaiju fan will take home a copy of this wonderful book, I'm going to put a trivia question in the chat, and whoever answers first is the winner. Now we only have 4 people watching right now, so.
Well, and Michael already has a copy, so it's really only going to be 3 people.
Okay, well, I don't know if anyone's watching.
Unless he wants a second copy. But
all right. What do you think, Michael? You want another copy? I don't know if he's still watching. If he's not watching, then he's canceled.
I'm looking at the comments, so I can't really tell. And there's probably a slight delay with this, so it might take a second for him to be all cranky and just say, like, no.
Yeah, there's usually like a couple minutes of delay from StreamYard to YouTube, so.
Yeah, I don't know how some of these live streamers can do it, where it's just like as soon as they post something in the chat, it's like bam. It's just like,
yeah, it's crazy.
Like piranhas, and they're just like.
All right, so I don't know. I guess I'll post the trivia question in the chat, and then whoever wants to answer wins, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, and then maybe we'll repost it. If no one answers, we'll repost the question on Twitter, and then see if that gets more responses.
There you go. Somebody has to answer the question and get this to get the book.
Yeah.
Dang it. Come on, people.
All right, here we go. I'm going to post the question in the chat. Give it a few minutes, and then we'll wrap it up, because ain't nobody watching right now.
You disappoint me.
I know. Nobody likes my channel.
Not you. Come on. Aren't you up to like 600 subscribers right now?
Little over 500, but still.
Oh, now I see. Michael's like, oh, trivia, you say?
Oh, yes. All right, so putting the trivia question in now.
Boom.
Do 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 do.
Michael wins.
Yay, Michael wins because he's the only one watching.
I told everyone I knew to watch this, just so you know.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, it's Father's Day.
Yeah,
everyone's with their dad, so that must be the reason.
Probably. So, how badly do you want a second copy, Michael?
I mean, you can get the second copy and sell it on eBay for like $1,000.
I'll donate my copy.
Okay, all right, that works.
This one will be signed though, so because I'm going to sign it.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a signed copy. Yeah. That makes it extra special.
Yeah. I will say, while we're on the subject, I actually one of the other things that I've done is a devotional book. A couple of them actually. This was the second one. That's it's called The New 42, and there is an entry on here that talks about Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, the movie. So I've got more kaiju stuff in here, just in a slightly different form.
Nice.
But I will tell you, it's interesting trying to take something, and I've heard I've talked with a lot of writers who've talked about this since we're on the subject. 0 out of 100. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know what that means either.
But anyway, it's actually really interesting trying to do kaiju in prose form as a as a written story, as because it's so ingrained in people's heads as as a visual medium, as film or as television. So it comes with its own set of challenges, I have to say, trying to figure out how to translate that and to replicate the sorts of things that you would experience in a film. So that's something that a lot of people love to talk about, and it's trying to figure out where I'm going, how to explain how going about it, because it's a reading is a very different experience than seeing a film. But one of the things that actually is kind of nice about doing these as written stories as opposed to something screen is that you're not limited by budget. You don't have to worry about, oh, what can or can't we do with the special effects. It's just like, no, you just do whatever you want. You just go nuts. And so a lot of those, so I think about a lot of those unmade Godzilla films or kaiju films that people like John LeMay have been researching. I'm just like, we never could have gotten them. And the reason a lot of the times we couldn't have gotten them because they would have been far too expensive to make. It would have been near impossible to do.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what stuff like this allows you to do. You can do all those really wild ones, and if you write it in the in the right styles, people will eat it up. You can be nuts if you want to. You just got to write it, and are people going to think it's high literature? Probably not. But you can write it in just such a way that people are going to have a good time with it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing your work with the lovely people who are watching tonight. So we're going to wrap it up. But before we do, why don't you plug your stuff? What you got going on, sir?
Wait. Michael's got a comment here.
Oh, what? Okay. Which makes projects like yours, Danny's, and others so important and interesting. Indeed.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, Danny DeVanna, who's you had Danny on actually a few weeks ago.
Yes, I did.
Talking about the Godzilla novelization project. But yes, totally agree.
Indeed.
High concept literature is overrated.
Indeed.
He's been watching a lot of stuff from SRS Cinema the last week, so I know where he's coming from. Although he watched Howl from Beyond the Fog not recently, so
Nice.
Yeah. But anyway, for those of you who are interested in finding these, obviously they're on Amazon. You can also go to my author website, which is nathanjsmarchand.com. Yes, I had to use both of my middle initials for my domain because nathanmarchand.com was already taken. I'm going to find him, and I'm going to feed him to the dragon. But anyway, so you can go check that out. And if you want to follow me as an author, you can also find my professional Facebook page. Here we go. SRS is God tier.
Whatever you say, Michael.
But you can find my professional Facebook page, which is The Worlds of Nathan Marchand, just like this book here. And actually, that's also the title of the website and of my website. And then you can follow me on Twitter as an author at Nathan Marchand 7. If you're interested in checking out the podcast, which now that I know that Kim is one of my fans, I am even more excited.
Yay.
And she's going to be very delighted because we're starting a new series on the podcast. We're going to go through all the Godzilla movies.
Yes.
By popular demand, we're going through the Godzilla movies. I had done them before on another show, but people are like, we don't want to listen to that. I'm like, okay, fine. We'll just do them again. So we're starting this week with Godzilla 1954. And just so all of you who are watching this now and in the future, this lovely young lady is slated to be on the Monster Island Film Vault in a few months. So it's going to be very exciting. It'll be her first trip to Monster Island, and it's going to be awesome.
I'm excited. I can't wait to see how Jimmy from NASA gets me there.
Actually, to be honest, I leave it up to my guests to decide how they get to the island. So.
Oh, okay.
So it's become tradition on the show to come up with some wild, funny, ridiculous way that you got to the island. So go nuts.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
A lot of times when they tell me how they got to the island, I have no idea. So when you're listening, my reactions are very genuine. I'm just like, oh, really? My favorite one was actually when I had Danny on the first time. Oh wow! And he ended up saying, he went to this whole little story. It's like, I woke up in the morning, and then all of this stuff, and then there was Jimmy with the Pteranodon bot. That's too. And I'm just like, what? You flew here on the Pteranodon bot, Jimmy? You have the Pteranodon bot? Anyway, so if you want to check that out, like I said, new episodes the second and fourth Wednesdays of every month. And also, if there's a fifth Wednesday, you get a bonus episode, which is why it's appropriate that Michael is in the chat, because Kaiju Weekly and the Film Vault are doing the Kaiju podcast crossover of the summer for none other than Singular Point, because Singular Point's out this Friday, and we're gonna, combine the powers of our shows combined. We're going to do a whole thing on it.
Nice.
I got a lot of good stuff, and we're going to release that episode on both of our feeds on the same day, so it's going to be amazing.
That does sound amazing. I look forward to listening to that, because you guys are my favorite people to listen to.
Oh. I feel the energy you are giving me. It gives me power.
Yes. Sending positive vibes your way. Feel the power.
I gotta do it like an anime character. Like, it's over 9,000! Anyway, so if you want to check out the podcast, it's on all the podcatchers. It's on YouTube. And you can follow us on basically all of the social medias. It's on Twitter at the Monster S1. It's on Instagram. It's on Facebook. And although on Twitter, I have to mention there are several associated accounts.
Oh my! Oh yes, there are.
And I'm going to tell you right now, contrary to popular belief, I don't run all of them. Do you people think I have enough time in my life to run 6 Twitter accounts? Are you insane? Yes, you are. But so make sure you also check out my intrepid producer, Jimmy from NASA, at NASA Jimmy. And then there is Crystal Lady Jessica at Crystal Lady Jess1. And the Monster Island Board of Directors, my Orwellian overlords on the island. Which, as I need to explain, it's a podcast. The tagline is seeking entertainment and enlightenment through tokusatsu. It's film appreciation. And so we not only talk about the movies and the merits of the movies, but we also talk about them in their cultural and historical context. So I will do research on something related to either in the movie itself or related to the time period in which it was released. So, for example, I started the podcast going through the King Kong movies, because this was back when back when Godzilla vs. Kong was supposed to release at its original date. I had it perfectly timed, and then they screwed it up 5 times. Well, I know. But anyway, so for King Kong 33, I did research on the Depression, because it was released during the Depression. And even though the Depression doesn't get referenced a whole lot in the movie, it was still had a huge impact on the movie itself and on its success. So that's an example for you right there. But it could also be something, that's not so much about the movie itself, but something related to its production. So like King Kong Lives, that infamous 80s movie. But I had John LeMay on, who's one of, I think, 3 people in the multiverse who like the movie. Unironically, too. And I did research on the King Kong copyright because it's absolutely ridiculous. And that actually did factor into not so much how that movie got made, but how King Kong 76 got made, and King Kong Lives was the sequel. So, because I researched a different topic for King Kong 76. So that gives you an idea. But it's also turned into something of an audio drama. So I'm basically playing a fictionalized version of myself, and all these other characters are the supporting cast of characters on the show, including Jimmy. So, then Crystal Lady Jessica, like I said, the Monster on Board of Directors, and that their Twitter is at Monster Isla BOD, because I guess they love their bod. And Michael is technically, it seems. Michael says he wants you on your episode. I don't know which episode he's talking about, but
I don't know either, but
he'll have to specify.
Yeah.
That's a ride on Serpentera was a little bumpy. Yeah.
I would imagine so.
That was actually one of the ways Michael got to the island, was Serpentera.
Oh, nice. I want to ride on Serpentera. I'm jealous.
But anyway, I think that's all of the. Oh, and then yes, Raymond Martin, the lawyer.
Ah, yes.
Which do you realize how genius that character's name is?
Yeah, yeah.
So genius. So you can follow him at MIFV_legal team. I think it's either that or it's MIFV legal _team. It's one of those ways. Follow all of those accounts, because ridiculous things happen on Twitter with all those characters interacting with each other, and then some of it ends up spilling into the podcast itself. So sometimes you can kind of get little previews or ideas of what's going on within the characters' lives by following the Twitter. Excuse me.
Stop dying.
Girl, I need more power. But so I think that's basically everything. So, oh no.
Yeah, Mechagodzilla's done. We're it's like, all right, let's wrap it up.
Shut up, Marchand. I've been standing here for modeling this for an hour. God, my joints need more oil. Go big or go home.
How much do I like raids again? Not very much, to be quite honest.
Yeah, because he's scheduled to come on for raids again. But just to give everyone else a little preview, you are slated to come on for Rodan. Indeed.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Michael is disappointed.
Well, damn. Oh, well. You win some, you lose some. All right, so was that all of your Twitter people's?
I believe that is all the things. Yeah, because
you said all your things.
Yeah, I got my fingers in too many things, it seems.
All righty then. Well, thank you very much for coming onto my stream. It was a pleasure.
Godzilla is waving at you, Kim. I love you, Kim.
Okay, I love you too. Thank you for coming. What even is this stream anymore? Alrighty. It started off with some technical difficulties, and now it's ending with I'm talking to a toy, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Yes. My precious.
We're all over the place, aren't we?
Oh my god. All right, so I'm a little loopy. I had a long day. So to everyone watching at home, thank you very much for taking a few minutes out of your day to hang out with me and my lovely guest. Be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you had a good time with me here today. And follow me on all the socials to get an idea of what I have coming up next. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Sayonara.